Jukebox Zeroes, the place where your idols come to die. I'm BMA-nominated journalist Lilz.
Excuse me, is this Lillian Edith Martin here?
Yes, stranger I've never met before.
Boston Music Award nominated?
Yes, that is me. That is she.
This is Detective Steinberg here with the local detective unit. Here to ask you some questions. Do you know
local detective unit?
Yes. That's all you need to know about it. Do you know a Mr. Patrick S. Barry?
Yes, I do.
And is this Patrick S. Barry an associate on a program called a Jukebox Zeroes?
That's his name, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And are you aware of a person or persons by the name of Father Alexander? Father Alexander, excuse me.
Yeah, he kind of broke into our last episode.
Yes. I'll just cut you right to the chase here. This is a murder investigation. We have found the body of Father Alexander in a...
Oh, no!
Yes, I apologize if this was a friend or family of yours, but we discovered his body in a nearby creek by a Mr. Patrick S. Barry's homestead, and we really need to speak with Mr. Patrick S. Barry as soon as we possibly can, so...
Oh, my God. Is this thesaurus okay?
Actually, yes, we did recover with the source, and it was indeed completely intact, and we actually learned some new synonyms for some words that really brought a better sense of perspicacity in the office here at the detective agency, local unit number 1.
Well, that's good. I mean, I thought Pat was here, but now I'm not really sure where he's at.
Well, if you could just let us know, miss, when Mr. Barry returns, we have some questions for him regarding the Father Alexander case.
Okay, I mean, since Pat's not here, you want to stick around and co-host the podcast instead of Pat?
All right, sure. What are we doing here today? I actually got some tall boys with me. I'd like to enjoy a few myself. What are we doing?
You're drinking. You're a detective and you're drinking on the job?
No, it's a private agency. We make our own rules.
What are you doing?
Oh, hey guys, this is Patrick. Just joining back in here on the program.
That fake shop teacher mustache isn't fooling anyone, Pat.
the fake shop teacher mustache over my actual mustache.
Why are you trying to pin yourself on a murder case?
Because I don't know, I'm just looking for a new place to live, and I thought prison might be nice.
We're not a true crime podcast.
Hey, everybody, I just murdered a guy named Father Alexander and dumped his body in the creek over by a man named Patrick's house. So keep that to yourselves. Just throwing that out there.
Oh, my God. Thank you for that word, random passerby. Oh, there she goes. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Who was that?
We don't know, but thank you for taking the blame off me. I have a lot of important podcast duties to attend to, and I don't have time to go to jail right now.
Right. As if any of us do. Welcome to Jukebox Zeroes. It's season 4. We're stupid jerks now.
Yep.
A trench full of urine.
Trench full of urine. Not empty, not half full, not half empty, but just completely at the cusp.
We're sticking with that bit. We're gonna hone in on some other dumb thing we say during this episode, and that's gonna make the tagline even longer.
The meniscus of pee sits tall atop the trench of urine.
Oh, so you just heard our guest chime in a second ago in spite of her incredible scene work. Our guest is a playwright and a podcaster herself, the host of the Is It Transphobic Podcast. Ashley Rogers is here.
Yay. Hello. I'm so excited to just dive into the trenches, honestly, you big jerks.
That's what we like to hear. Big jerks. That's us.
Getting in the spirit of things. Before we get into the glut of this episode, I think we know what time it is. It's time for the apology section.
Ooh.
I'm sorry. Sincerely.
I mean, right off the top of my head, I'm going to apologize for completely derailing that bit of yours, Pat. I feel like you wanted to take that so much farther, and I was just would not let you.
No, that's fine. I feel like at this point we're trying to one-up each other in terms of dumb bits that we just sort of spring on each other.
That's very true.
I feel like maybe I need to brush up on my improv skills a little more. But I think we actually we had a discussion the other day where we decided, is there such a thing as good improv, quote unquote, or is it just all inherently bad?
Right. That was a discussion we were having with our next guest.
Yeah, is it all inherently evil? Ooh, yeah. Nice spoiler alert there. I have absolutely nothing to apologize for this week.
How about you, Ashley?
Yeah,
we're doing this now? Guests can apologize?
Oh, what? I can't apologize now? Well, I apologize for stealing your thunder there and apologizing in your stead, Patrick. But yeah, I want to apologize to you and every other podcast that I listen to, because I listen to you on like 2 times speed. And so for me, all of the music, all of the everything that has been perfectly crafted by podcast creators, I am just speeding up because I don't have the time to sit through your perfectly crafted things. Just get it to me faster.
We're slow talkers.
Oh, no.
Okay, this is also the season I'm working on my uhs and likes, and I just did so many in a row right there. My stutter has actually gotten worse since I started doing podcasts. Can you believe it?
So you had to listen to Jeff Tate's Ego faster than usual last time.
Let me tell you. Me tell you, though. If he just speeds it up by 2 times, that album is listenable. Like, the clips you were playing were not stellar, I'll give you that. But at like twice the speed, it's like, oh, if he just leaned into thrash, sure, I'd be into this.
Yeah, I would have much preferred a 25-minute rendition of that record. Sure.
I'm sure we could all get behind that. Maybe I'm overestimating in my own mind just how much faster 2x speed is. So the episode we're doing today, this is one you specifically requested to do, so I feel like maybe we should tarry no further, because this is going to be an ordeal of sorts.
Tarry we shan't.
Okay. As music has developed over time, there have inevitably been subcategories to complement the mainline categories.
I think you meant devolved.
Yes.
I mean, you were pretty apt, honestly, as much as that was a slip. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was a Freudian slip.
I tried to revise myself, but nope. I think I was accidentally right the whole time. But yeah, from rock music came alternative, progressive, folk rock and more. From rhythm and blues came soul, funk, hip-hop and more. From jazz came bebop, swing, afrobeat and more, and so on and so forth.
And the bebop-aluba, that's my baby.
Yes.
All of that.
Not every subgenre of music has been received without controversy, though. Throughout contemporary music history, there's been more than a fair share of sounds developed that just inspire just as much intense amounts of anger and loathing in those who listen to it as they generate joy in those who enjoy them. Mumble rap, country pop, screamo, bro step, glam metal, disco, reggaeton, Christian rock, black metal, just to name a few. In today's episode, however, we're going to be focusing our attention on a particularly reviled subgenre of music. One that purists believe nearly destroyed metal music during its heyday in the 90s and aughts, but still maintains a dedicated following of people who insist upon its quality, and like to let us know every chance they get on the YouTube page for our Limp Bizkit episode.
Hey guys.
We see you there.
You're why we do this.
Such harsh language. Anyway, nu metal, occasionally known as aggro metal, is a subgenre of metal music that draws upon a wide range of influences not often found in the classic sounds of its parent genre. Where traditional metal acts' ancestors are hard rock, psychedelic, and blues acts, nu metal drew its sound from hip-hop, grunge, funk, and sometimes industrial music, and grew out of the sounds of groove metal acts like Pantera and White Zombie, funk metal acts like Red Hot Chili Peppers and Faith No More, and rap metal acts like Rage Against the Machine and Body Count. Nu metal is heavily syncopated, with a heavy emphasis on guitar riffs, mid-song bridges, and rhythm, with few guitar solos. Just going from what it said on Wikipedia, Pat.
Oh yeah, those mid-song bridges. Those middle eights are important. I'm picturing
no other genre of music is focused on rhythm quite like nu metal is.
So down at the Skindred writing sessions, we got the lead singer. We're like, all right, we got to make this middle eight section snappy.
Is that a vocal fry of the lead singer of Skindred I'm unaware of, that he goes right before sentences?
Yeah.
I've heard tale. Yeah.
Asked and answered.
I've heard worse.
Asked and answered. Anyway, where the hell was I? It has been known to heavily incorporate sampling and turntables into their sound and features the kind of nihilistic lyricism that spoke heavily to teenage male youths of the time period. Numerous mega-selling acts arose from the peak of nu metal's commercial viability, many of whom are still performing to this day. Acts like Slipknot, Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit, and Korn, who are regularly pointed to as the first nu metal act. In spite of its success, however, the subgenre has been a topic of major criticism and controversy, especially among music journalists. Gregory Heaney of AllMusic.com, in a review of Deftones' 2012 record Koi no Yokan, called nu metal one of metal's most unfortunate pushes into the mainstream, while Lucy Jones of NME called it the worst genre of all time. All the while, the genre would be criticized even by the musicians that inspired it, like Faith No More's Mike Patton and Paige Hamilton of Helmet. And over time, the more successful nu metal acts themselves would begin to distance themselves from the label as their aesthetics began to change. In an interview with NME, Mike Shinoda of Linkin Park said of nu metal, "We never held the flag for nu metal. It was associated with frat rock, arrogant, misogynistic, and full of testosterone. We were reacting against that." So why bring it up today? As it just so happens, all three of us on the podcast today have a somewhat sordid history of enjoying nu metal during our angsty, dumb teenage years. We're not proud of it, but we're going to talk about it, and hopefully that makes things a little bit better. What we've done between the three of us, we've assembled 10 nu metal tracks that we're going to pick apart and riff upon, having heard nothing but spur-of-the-moment samples. This essay is the only notes I prepared on this episode, so this experiment is either going to be very good or very bad.
Probably bad. I'm excited.
Yeah, I should also throw out to listeners, I have no experience or knowledge in music, so all of my analysis is going to be very much from the heart, but you will probably hate me.
No, that's even better. We need that to sort of balance out our, this particular song, I really liked the compressor that was being used on the vocals, or blah, 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 blah. No, we need some, real civilian accounts.
Oh, this time signature is just not working. I don't know what you're saying. Recitative.
Yeah.
These are words I know.
These episodes can't all be people just going, murder range.
Right?
And I'm sure we'll have just random anecdotes and tangents to go off on. It's going to be a very loose episode, I'm sure. We've only set one rule going forward for ourselves, and that is no A-listers. We're looking at the also-rans who fell by the wayside and now find themselves condemned to a life of 300-capacity dive bars at the age of 47. I mean, not now, but, in an ideal world. In a just world where everything hasn't closed down because of incompetence.
When we're not in, the disease hellscape.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Before times, when everything was not dumb.
Right.
Before the dumb times, yeah.
Yeah.
So before we get into some tracks, I feel like it's only appropriate to just sort of go around and talk about any sort of individual experiences with the genre, going into it. Would you like to go for? Would you like to talk about it first, Ashley? I mean, you requested this specific topic, so I figure you probably have some things to say.
Yeah. So for me, growing up, being told for a very long time that I was a boy and not being a boy, but being told it was one of those things I had to find the outlet of all right, what am I listening to? What am I trying to find? And for me, my first concert was Ozfest 99. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so for me, I got to see a bunch of really awesome music mixed with a bunch of music that I would later find out would become a lot bigger and a lot more interesting. But this was really where I started getting a lot of the nu metal. And really, when you're just trying to find, this is AIM days. This is dial-up days when Napster was still a thing that people were like, oh, should we use Napster? Is that illegal? Is that okay? During that period,
well, I guess we should take the music.
And so
should we take the music?
Should we take the music? It's technically stealing, but is it?
I mean, it's just. Yeah. It's just sitting there, though.
You shouldn't have to pay for nu metal, though. Come on.
But during that period, during that period, you'd listen to the radio, you'd hear whatever was on there so you can kind of find what's new. And for me, your listeners love Massachusetts references. I listen to WAAF.
Oh, yes. I meant to say, like, all three of us are New Englanders, like, growing up. So WAAF is bound to come up.
Absolutely.
Yep. So, that
was definitely my first exposure to nu metal for sure.
Yeah. So for me, like, that
Same.
was a lot like, growing up, like, you'd hear Godsmack, you'd hear Fear Factory. I remember they were one of the first. And they were in that, like, just before and then into, like, yeah, fuck it, let's do this. So I guess, like, for me, there is a certain nostalgia that I have with it where it's sort of like, oh, I am a little bit embarrassed that, yes, I can name about 1 billion nu metal bands and probably have seen most of them. But at the same time, yeah, like, I recognize it's not necessarily the most memorable of music.
Oh, boy, oh, boy. It's funny you bring up Fear Factory just because it's so weird to think of, like, all these, like, grandfather acts. Like, I mean, maybe not so much Fear Factory, but like, Slayer and Machine Head and that sort of stuff that just saw how successful nu metal was in the 90s and thought, I can do this. I can, like, completely, eject all of my previous sound and just, like, this will be a cinch.
I could floop doop doopy 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 with the best of them,
Which I will maintain the Burning Red is still a stellar album from Machine Head, but at the same time, it's definitely that, like, first movement into, oh, what is this? Oh, what is this? Okay, with hindsight, it's still good.
I mean, to be fair, Machine Head could only go further down from there, as Pat and I found during our Korn episode.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
I forget what that song was called, but, like, the lyrics were just like, you're all pieces of shit and you can't take me, or something like that.
And it was like an anti-SJW song or some shit, too. So it was like...
Oh, for sure.
It was just like, fuck you, libs, I'm going to pwn all you. You're all fake.
Oh, no.
I know the truth. I take the pill. It is red.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to find that song because, like, admittedly, Machine Head is one of the few acts that were very vocal when Phil Anselmo started shouting "white power" at Dimebag Darrell thing, and, like, the lead singer Machine Head was very much like, no, this has been an open secret for years that Phil Anselmo is a white supremacist.
Oh boy.
And so it's just like I've always had a lot of respect for Machine Head, so I'm curious because maybe it's just a song that I overlooked and just said, like, maybe I'll just pretend like this one doesn't exist.
Oh boy. Like you, like, my big nu metal experiences all pretty much came from WAAF. I don't think I was really old enough to go to concerts until, I was no longer fascinated with nu metal anymore, so I didn't really go to see any nu metal acts. I was supposed to go see Deftones this summer, but obviously that's not happening. And it was a really good lineup, too. They were going to be touring with Gojira and Poppy.
Ooh, I remember hearing about that one. Oh, I'm so sorry for you.
Gojira and Poppy. That's an interesting pull. Wow.
Deftones tours with the most fascinating
Easy.
acts. Like, I saw them with Alice in Chains and Mastodon, and it was just like,
oh wow!
Like, this tour shouldn't work. But then, like, listening to it, it was just like, no, actually, this makes perfect sense. It's just,
It's funny because, like, Deftones caused some, like, very, very tiny controversy a while back because, like, they had that little Deftones festival they had where all the acts were curated by Chino Moreno and the group. And one year they had Crystal Castles on it, and fucking Jamie Jasta from Hatebreed called them out just like, I didn't know pop artists run the metal festivals. And everyone was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Like, who fucking cares anymore? There's no chugga guitar. It's for girls. Like, no?
I will give Jamie Josta
credit. No, wait, it was churches, not
that
Crystal Castles.
He is very, what's that word? He enunciates incredibly well. I will give him that. He is like the master enunciator in metal. I know everything that he is saying.
Wait, I'm sorry. Who? Which one?
Jamie Josta.
Jamie Jasta from Hatebreed.
From Hatebreed, okay.
Yeah. Which, great name right there.
I was thinking, I thought I heard Fear Factory for a second. And I was thinking of the song where he says "modernized performance."
Getting back to my nu metal upbringing, that pretty much lasted from middle school to like probably mid high school, because like around like late sophomore, early junior year was when I met my friends and previous episode guests, Al and Taylor, from the Weezer episode that we did. And they introduced me to like the Strokes and the Hives and Interpol and all the White Stripes and all that sort of stuff. And things took a bit of a turn. But like when I was into nu metal, not only was I like really big into nu metal, I was that obnoxious young person kind of into nu metal that I had to make sure everybody knew about it and that anything else was terrible.
You guys, you think you heard metal? This is not your grandpappy's metal. This is the new metal, okay? This is different.
Like, every time on like Facebook, I see someone in like their 50s saying like rap, crap, boy bands are trash and all that sort of stuff. I just look at that and think, oh my God, that was me when I was like 14.
Yeah, I mean that was sort of the culture though, circa 99 through 2002.
Well, and even
With
then,
a lot
like
of people, I just seem to remember.
Yeah, like I also feel like, especially when you're that young, when you're in your teens, you're like, okay, I need to solidify my identity, so I need to defend my identity, and like maybe this is just me being queer and trans, but like you need to like defend this. So it's like, I'm a metalhead. Well, fuck everything else. Metal is the best. How can you not see this?
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
I need to glom onto something and never let go.
Mm-hmm.
Because capitalism has stripped us of everything.
I will also say, getting back to my nu metal upbringing, I was very, very nearly in a nu metal band when I was in high school.
Yay!
Because like I was hanging with some friends. There was like some friends, like similar outcast, shop at Hot Topic-y kind of people like myself, who I hung with at lunch period. And at one point, one of them knew that I played drums. And they told me, like, oh, we're thinking of starting a band. You should come over to my house and jam with us sometime. And I said, okay, because the other band I was in wasn't quite working out. So I went over to their place. They did not have a drum kit, so they had me drum on an empty mail bin that was turned upside. I asked them what the name of the band was. They said, we're called Circus Saints.
And wait, was the circus like with a Z or like what? Because that's another nu metal thing.
They never spelled it out.
Like Circus
Saints. It's one of them German S's.
But like they started playing, and like I don't remember much about it, but like except for the bass line, which was like this kind of just repeated forever because they couldn't think of any other songs. Yeah. And that one thing was enough for me to go like, maybe this isn't going to work out. But who knows? Maybe Circus Saints might have played Ozfest if we'd stuck together.
You were just 1 gig away, buddy.
How about you, Pat? Do you have any nu metal stories you'd like to reminisce on?
Nu metal bona fides. Wow. I guess if I'm going to wax poetic on my relationship with nu metal, I should probably...
I mean, you grew up in the South Shore, right? So, like, was it a somewhat different experience at all than what we're talking about?
So,
because, like, I imagine you still got AAF, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm a couple years older than you folks, and I probably started listening to rock radio around like 95, 96, and I definitely honed in more on AAF because I think they were doing a lot more hard rock metal, which was more of what my brother was listening to. So that was kind of what the acceptable music was in our house. I tried switching over to BCN a few times, but it wasn't angry enough. So, what we got in the mid-90s was a phenomenon known as post-grunge. And I think I'm going to crack open my Night Shift Brewing Ricky Weiss beer here, a sour ale, raspberry with limes. It's absolutely delicious.
Oh, that sounds delightful.
Yeah, based out of Everett, Massachusetts. One moment.
Because we do love the Massachusetts.
So, yeah, as you brought up, I grew up in Norwood, Massachusetts, which is sort of a metro west of Boston, and I also lived for quite some time down in the South Shore. Like you brought up, I had a girlfriend who lived in Abington, and then like moved down there, and then ended up making more friends, and kind of stuck in the Weymouth area for a long time, and was working there in Hingham. So I'm getting ahead of myself here. 1995, 1996, we have this phenomenon called post-grunge, which is essentially
It's kind of a stopgap point between, like, you know, the grunge movement and nu metal, because there's so much overlap between the genres.
Yes, I think that's kind of what I was getting at, is it sort of acts as this ancestor to nu metal. So grunge came out in the, you know, late 80s, early 90s, you know, on the main popular scene, and you had bands like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and there was a big masculine energy that came out of these groups, but also these scenes were very queer friendly, and you know, a lot of queer people, women were a big part of what made those scenes so fun and awesome and diverse, which, you know, fuck you, Buzz Osborne of the Melvins, for like your shit that you had to say about, you know, lesbians on the Seattle scene or whatever, because, you know, those are the people that made your fucking scene cool and not just fucking complete bro rock. So what we got was, you know, these bands like fucking Live, Collective Soul. Are like these other ones where they have fuzzy guitars, but the songs are poppier, and then we also had these circa mid 90s. We had these artists like Pissed On, which was sort of like they were buddies with Typo Negative, so they were kind of like a Typo Negative ripoff. And then once we got to 1997, we started hearing Limp Bizkit and Godsmack on these stations. And Godsmack was like this, at the time, an unknown band. They only had a demo, and they were getting played a bunch on AAF. Liking it and really liking, kind of latching onto that band because they had a song title that was an Alice in Chains song. They have a song called Godsmack, and I was a big fan of grunge, you know, from listening to the radio in the early to mid 90s. So I was like, oh yeah, these guys are kind of like bringing it to the next level. They're a little, you know, a little more swagger and, you know, a little heavier, but like, I'm also 13 years old. I don't fucking know any better. I just think it's cool that these guys are called Godsmack, and, you know, we got this guy saying, keep away from me. Sick wah solo guitar. And it was like, yeah, it was groovier. It had a sort of groove and swagger to it, and that's where we get into these bands in the late 90s, like your Limp Bizkits, and your Korns, and these, you know, or, you know, even Disturbed and shit like that, where they're very heavily influenced by hip hop and like sense of rhythm. So it's like, as someone who was young and getting into percussion and sort of latching onto the magic that rhythm sort of stirs up in you, I was really interested in these bands that were like aggressive and angry, but also had a sense of rhythm and like we're kind of doing funky shit. Then we get to around 2002. I'm in a band in high school called Rancor.
Oh no.
And it's actually like more of a we really were more of a post-grunge band because we were very heavily influenced by Nirvana, just like extremely dumbed down. But we also could very easily fit into nu metal leanings because we had a 7-string guitar. And we also did Korn covers in addition to the Nirvana covers. This is where we were at, you know, in the early 2000s. Wow. With like,
we want to bridge the gap between rock. Nirvana and Korn. This is the
we need that we need that extra string on the guitar. That's the bridge.
And it really kind of brings about this idea that, you know, while grunge itself wasn't like, kind of fizzled out by the mid-90s. It had a stronghold on suburban radio. It still does, at least until AAF shut down. But they were still pumping these hits onto radio, so like kids kind of latched onto that, and they were also listening to those bands' ancestors, your Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and whatnot. So really, it created these loops of sort of mini nostalgia that built into this attitude, this sort of weird rock-ist attitude, but they also would throw in hip-hop influences. It's kind of weird to think about. But anyway, there's actually a song that I'm going to bring up later in our discussion today that is the moment that I really started to notice the cracks in nu metal.
Okay. Sounds like maybe we should start getting into the songs then.
Let's get into it.
Just real quick before we do get into the songs, just to keep things absolutely fair, what would you say is a band that is still good from nu metal? Because obviously there's still bands from that nu metal movement. Some have gotten better, some continue to suck. Personally, I feel like the only two bands that made it out of nu metal alive and with artistic integrity were Deftones and System of a Down.
I would have to agree, and Deftones especially, because they're still putting out records and still expanding on their sound, and they managed to escape a lot of those trappings and could kind of parlay into 2000s rock a lot more gracefully than their peers.
I will say, though, I did listen to that new Korn album from last year after we did our Korn episode, and it was surprisingly actually pretty good.
Korn is a fascinating group. One of the first things I did when I moved to New York, because I'm living in New York, for those who maybe haven't picked that up because I've been talking so much about Massachusetts, but I saw them live on Ozfest one year and I hated them, and it was just ugh, and it was literally because I was too far away from them. And I had the same problem with Marilyn Manson. I was too far away. But then I saw a smaller show, and in New York they were throwing a free show to promote Evolution, I think it was. And
oh wow.
Yeah, and so I'm here, and it's just it's the first thing I'm doing. I hate the city. I don't know what's going on. I just need to do something. My wife needs me to get out of the house. So I went and saw this free showing at a pier in New York. And it was so intimate and it was small. And even though the album I later found out sucked, it was a really good experience. And so they were great when it was just a really small, intimate show. But I could not stand them when I saw them on a massive tour, and I was so far away, and the lawn and whatever the Tweeter Center is called now, if it's still called that. I don't even know. Great Woods is what it used to be called, I think. Anyway, yeah.
Well, I got to imagine that something definitely got lost in the whole sort of festival aspect of it, as opposed to actually getting to see a show with just them leading up the bill. Mm-hmm. All right. Should we start getting into the songs, you think?
Let's crank out the goodies.
Not to prolong it anymore. I have a couple of bands that I would still recommend people listen to.
Go for it.
I can't say that they've necessarily stood the test of time, but I find them amazing. Spineshank, specifically because they I really like their sound. I like the hits that they put out, and B, I've talked to a lot of people that have talked to them recently within the last 5 years after shows that they've done, and they said they were the nicest people in the world. This is they're really cool, down to earth. So I will fight for Spineshank.
I've heard of Spineshank. A lot of my friends in the industrial scene swear by them, but I've never really thought to check them out.
Yeah, they're give them a listen sometime. I'm not gonna do another qualifier. I'm just gonna say them. Ultra Spank, I love them. There's the qualifier. Nothing Face, I think they were one of the most interesting acts of the time in the genre. And finally, one of my choices that we will hear later or soon, the Deadlights.
And I was gonna say, I agree with the Deftones. System of a Down, their records hold up. I would be interested to hear what a new record of theirs would sound like, but it sounds like they're just their bassist, or was it the bassist or the drummer that kind of went right wing, which is totally
that was the drummer,
completely
John
opposite
Dolmayan.
end of what they're about. The Mudvayne album LD50 weirdly still kind of holds up for me. I could still kind of like.
Yeah, I need to give that another look, especially since I found out that their bassist does like crazy jazz metal now.
Yeah, I haven't really checked in with them, and like their follow-up records really didn't impress me. But that one was like, I think like pretty good and pretty solid. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I can't think of too many others. A lot of them have just, just come and gone. Just kind of either come and gone, or they're just in very embarrassing stages of their career right now.
Yeah, just to quickly piggyback on what I said about like my industrial friends liking Spineshank, that reminded me I do have sort of a soft spot in my heart for Static X.
Yeah, I still listen to Static X sometimes, even though.
I think Static X kind of falls more in line with like a Manson or that era of like mid to late 90s industrial-ish rock, I guess. They were kind of more in that vein for me, or even like Filter around that time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let us tarry no further and start getting into some of these clips. Now, for this episode, each of us three picked out 3 different tracks apiece of like absolute D-lister metal bands that we could think of that we wanted to talk about, except for this first track, which I wanted to include anyway, because I feel like for anyone that doesn't understand what nu metal is, this, I feel like, is the most nu metal song of every nu metal song ever to exist. I'm sure you'll recognize it the moment I hit play.
1, something's got to give. 2, something's got to give. 3, something's got to give. Now! Let the bodies hit the floor. 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 Let the bodies.
That was, of course, Bodies by Drowning Pool, whom, I mean, that song has really sort of transcended nu metal to the degree that you hear it in, like, sports games and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And also, in the headphones of fucking people overseas and in Afghanistan and all that good shit, too.
Right.
Yeah, so this is, Drowning Pool's Bodies. That's certainly a track. That is certainly a slab of 2001 nu metal.
Oh yeah, but like you can see where I'm coming from, right? That this would sort of represent the example of like if someone said describe nu metal. Okay, look up Bodies by Drowning Pool.
Absolutely, you got a sort of like pseudo hip hop hook, very repetitive, and then the like kind of whiny emo-ish verses, and then. The lead singer is sort of towing 2 lines between being like, "Ooh, I'm so vulnerable and damaged, and I'm also a big tough guy who's gonna bodies hit the floor if anyone comes into contact with me. I'm also a big tough guy." And it's like that sort of disingenuous Jekyll and Hyde routine that really, it's a good summary of what fucking sucks about this genre.
I just imagine somebody downing a Monster Energy drink wearing a tap-out shirt and like with hair spiked. Yeah, it's just like, yep, mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, every nu metal vocalist, if you think about it, like basically, like, or at least like maybe 80-90% of them have that Glenn Danzig thing going on where they're singing, but it also sounds like they're perpetually flexing at the same time.
Oh, sure.
So yeah, this was from Drowning Pool from Dallas, Texas, formed in 1996. Since I don't have notes, I'm just going to look up the Wikipedia article on some of these bands. This was off their debut album Sinner in 2001. Original vocalist Dave Williams, unfortunately, did not survive to record another album. He died August 14th, 2002. And then it was after that one that, like, this band's fortunes pretty much took a pretty big turn. Like, I don't remember them ever, getting on to, like, any radio stations or anything ever again after that. Yeah, the
story of the lead singer was actually pretty sad because he died of exposure. He was at a party and he just died in a car of freezing to death or something like that.
I'd heard that he had like a heart condition. Maybe like that was also part of it, but I don't know the whole story.
I also this story is coming back when it happened, whenever that was in like 2003 or whatever.
Because I remember them. Maybe it was when I was reading a lot of blabbermouth.net. Because I remember them putting out another album, getting a new lead singer, and hearing the single and just being like, meh. But yeah, I also remember because Drowning Pool, that album Sinner, it was Target used to have discounted nu metal albums that had just come out. And that was one of them. And they usually had a pretty good track record as far as like, oh, I can listen to this and enjoy this. Like, I think that's how I discovered UPO, and that's how I discovered, who are the other ones? But yeah, like...
Oh, man, yeah. UPO. That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
I still love UPO. I love a lot more of nu metal than I actually thought I did.
Wow. See, what I think kind of makes the Drowning Pool story, like, extra sad is that, like... Their new singer just sounded like such a generic, five-finger death punchy hard rock vocalist sort of thing. While Dave Williams, on the songs where he was actually like, trying to sing in a pleasant manner, he actually had a pretty nice, decent sort of singing voice.
Mm-hmm. Zoltan Bathory sings for UPO, or he's in UPO now, isn't he?
Really?
Yeah. He joined in like 2004.
Is Jeremy there too?
Jeremy Hoomst.
Jeremy.
Let me make sure.
From Zoltan and Jeremy. From Five Finger Death Punch.
From the Five Finger Death Punches.
Oh, there's a lot of Five Finger Death Punch
guys.
happening.
Jeremy Spencer. Jeremy Spencer. Sitting alone on the stage with the Five Finger Death punch. Yeah, it's shit. Jason Hook is a guy in Five Finger Death Punch as well.
Further Death Punch.
Five Father Death Punch.
I would listen to Five Father Death Punch, okay? I'm just saying, like, that sounds like a fascinating...
I would out of curiosity.
I'm so mad at all five of my dads.
If I did a ghost tribute band, it would be Five Father Death Punch. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, God.
I would love that. Oh, and Pat, real quick, I think I'm mad at all five of my dads might just be the tagline for this one.
Very good. Can't let that sneak away.
Okay. So let's get into another clip. Do either of you guys want to pick out the first clip, or like the first proper clip that we go in, or should I pick one of mine?
Let's have our guest pick.
Sure.
All right.
Sure. So let's, because I've already spoiled it, let's listen to the Deadlights.
Okay, here's Sweet Oblivion by the Deadlights.
Meet me in the bathroom, and I'll show you everything. I'll give you something that you can't believe in.
Now, Deadlights from Long Beach, California, very short-lasting band, 1998 to 2000. It's a very short Wikipedia article. Like, at the top, it just says, the band's most notable achievement was playing the second stage at Ozfest 2000.
Yep. I mean, admittedly, that's where I saw them. I got to see them live. They were amazing live. And for me, they were just one of those bands that like had this really dark sound to them, but it still fit with all the other acts. It still fit with a lot of the stuff that I was looking for at the time. And so for me, admittedly, the lyrical quality of "Meet me in the bathroom and I'll show you everything" is suspect. I really like their I think it was a self-titled album, but the only album that they released was just fantastic, and I love it and stand by it. But yeah.
So this came out in 2000?
Yeah.
Was it? Mm-hmm. Interesting, yeah. It looks like they have some associations with Nothing Face and Hell Yeah. Interestingly enough, I wonder what
I think a member of Deadlights was very briefly bassist, I want to say, for Hell Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So that was kind of interesting. Just listening to that track, I wasn't familiar with this one. The vocalist sounds to be more from like the post-grunge vintage than
I was going to chime in about
husky
that.
nu metal. He's got a bit of a sort of what's his name? Raina something from Our Lady Peace meets Brian Molko from Placebo. That sort of like pinchy, whiny upper register shit.
I wasn't thinking of Brian Molko specifically, but since you mention it, I totally see it. But what I was going to chime in with is like the voice is kind of, I feel like, what's setting it what's like setting it apart. And I get kind of a more pop punky sort of vibe from it. But yeah, I can totally see Brian Molko and the Our Lady Peace guy as well.
And also I was thinking of there's a band that was based out of Maryland that was called Louder Milk, who kind of had a similar lead singer to this. I don't know if any of you guys heard of that one. And then I was also thinking of the band Boy Hits Car, too. I was thinking that guy had a similar voice.
One of the
one
of the bands that got kicked out of Ozfest before it started because Sharon Osbourne decided she didn't understand why they were even on the card.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh, so it wasn't like the Crazy Town incident where they weren't sharing their meth. So
no, it was before they even showed up for the Ozfest. They were like, it was like, what the? Why are these people on here now? Again,
who the fuck is Boy Hits Car?
I am in love with Boy Hits Car. I love more of this than I realized.
Oh yeah, Boy Hits Car. What did you say? Boy hit what now? What did Jack do to my car? No, the name of the band is Boy Hits Car.
I've never heard of them. My car.
No boy's gonna hit my car. No, you're not the lead singer of Deep Purple. You're from Black Sabbath, remember?
Oh, it's all the colors, Sharon. It's all the colors. I don't know.
What is happening?
I will say, getting back to the actual song, like I have definitely heard that rhythmic pattern before in countless nu metal songs. That kind of da 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 da, which is, now that I think of it, is like Terminator 2. Now that I think of it,
ooh,
yeah. With the 90s, we got some spicier drum patterns. Absolutely. Could be some boop bop dooba daps. Bebop-a-luba, she's my honey.
Just because I'm curious, I have the Wikipedia article for the Ozfest 2000 lineup here. On the main stage, we've got Ozzy Osbourne, of course, Natch, Pantera, Godsmack, Static X, Incubus, oh boy, Methods of Mayhem.
That's a band I've seen.
Oh boy. What year is this now?
2000.
2000, yeah.
Yep.
POD did not appear on August 6th, however. Queens of the Stone Age, who canceled from August 24th to the 30th.
I'm so happy.
Oh, yeah, so Josh Homme has like a big thing with Sharon Osbourne, too. They had a huge spat.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's probably what happened there. I think they also had a thing with Crazy Town, too.
I was going to say, I was lucky enough to be...
He's always kicking people in the face.
I was lucky enough to be at the show that they one of the shows that they did perform, and I was so happy because like I loved Queens of the Stone Age. This was like when they just released Rated R, so this was like my material, Queens of the Stone Age. And
that's awesome that you got to see him at that point, though.
Yeah,
because I'm trying to think of who's drumming for him at that point, but yeah, it must have been Nick Oliveri playing bass. That's badass.
Yep,
I never got to see Nick. I think the first time I saw him was like 2007.
Anyway, Queens of the Stone Age, Black Label Society, who started on August 24th. And here's a good name for the main stage, I'm sure you all remember. Apartment 26, who started August 4th.
I love them. Shut up. Don't you judge me. Apartment 26 are lovely. Your basic breakdown.
Would you?
Okay.
Would you like to know? That was the main stage. Would you like to know who was on the second stage?
I mean,
yeah,
I would, but I don't know if that's going to take, like, yeah, please, for me.
Second stage, we have Soulfly, Kitty, Disturbed, Taproot, Slaves on Dope, Reveal, Shuval, Primer 55, The Deadlights, Pitch Shifter, Pump Jack, and Crazy Town.
The only one I don't remember is Pump Jack. Like, I didn't get to see them all because of the way that they do scheduling.
I remember Pitch Shifter. I remember Slaves on Dope. Holy shit, that's a name I haven't heard in a long ass time.
Pump Jack, incidentally, the only one on this page with no Wikipedia article.
Ooh,
you know what I feel like? You know what I feel like right now? It's there's a guy that I used to work with at Tivoli Audio, our IT guy, and he was probably like in his mid 60s or so, just complete goofball, and he was huge into psychedelic music back in the 60s, and he would talk about the Nuggets collections all the time, and all these sort of also ran, and lesser known psychedelic bands. And I feel like we're doing that right now, but with shit, with actual shit.
Before we move on from this, I just noticed there's a little note on the bottom that someone wholly unfamiliar with how Wikipedia works has to have put here, and no editors have fixed this. Says the lineup on the main stage and second stage changed shortly after the tour began when Crazy Town was booted off the tour! !
Exclamation point.
Whereas Disturbed was moved to open the main stage.
That exclamation point is for meth.
Oh, boy.
Why do you bring up Disturbed? So I actually was super into Disturbed when that first record of theirs came out. I'm trying to remember what was the first single. Stupefy. I thought that song was pretty rad, and then I was like, and then I think they might have released another single at some point. So I was like, all right, I'm not gonna actually spend any money on this, but I do have, this is 2000, I have Napster, I'm going to download this son of a bitch. So I did.
On the topic of Disturbed, I did, even though I said I consider Bodies to be the most example of nu metal, thinking about it again, I feel like Down with the Sickness is even more the quintessential nu metal song.
It totally
but they've continued to be successful, hence why I picked Drowning Pool instead of Disturbed.
So they were I was super into Faith No More growing up, and they had a song. I think it was actually, they released it as a single. It was Voices. It was the opening track on that record that had this actually kind of Billy Gould-esque bass line at the beginning of it, super high end slap shit that goes on, and the syncopation, kind of a little more upbeat than some of their more down tempo slogs. And I think that was the one that sort of drew me in and made me appreciate the rest of the record for a little bit, including their fucking Tears for Fears cover and a song called Droppin' Plates. Oh, God.
Oh, my God. I remember Droppin' Plates. Yep.
And they have this, this is great. There's stretch of songs with, their stretch of one-word song titles here. Fear, numb, want, conflict. Just fucking typical.
And also,
shit.
The Game.
Oh, don't forget The Game. I totally dug that track, too. You better believe it.
Yeah. That was the hostage.
Let's play another clip.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying, that's the one that's I think he's doing a hostage negotiator tactic with a voice in his head or something. That's The Game. If I'm remembering it correctly.
That is such a nu metal concept for a song. Hostage negotiator with a voice in your head.
Dude, he's the fucking Jeff Tate of nu metal. That's what he is. I swear to God. And I think he's actually admitted to listening to a lot of Queensryche growing up. So it totally tracks.
Oh man. Let's get to another clip. Would you like to pick the next one, Pat?
Sure. So I think the next one that we're going to dive into here is so I brought this up before. This was the moment that I started to see the cracks in the nu metal phenomenon, and it would be the 2002 track Bartender by Head PE.
Oh boy, here's Bartender by Head PE.
I just want your company. I want you to come for me. Just come with me. Hey bartender, hit me with another. I just about had to kill this brother. Shit, I'm looking for trouble tonight. No, mama, don't trust me tonight.
No, mama, don't trust me tonight.
No. So, a few things.
I'm not intimately familiar with Head PE beyond that first record, but it did really feel like they were a group that seemed a lot more singularly focused on the hip-hop portion of nu metal, a lot more than a lot of their contemporaries.
So my initial thought when I was re-listening to this track, because I have not listened to it, I don't think, in well over a decade, but my initial thoughts were, this is sort of like a couple years removed from Soul Coughing, which was very hip-hop influenced alt-rock band, but they didn't quite have the crunchy, heavy guitars that your Head PE does. So there was like you get this like clean guitar riff at the beginning of the song, and the super dry hip hop beat that sort of slips in, and then out of nowhere we get big detuned guitars and piccolo snare and and I think like hearing that when this song came out and the lyrics, which they stick out a lot, and it's like very clear what the intent of the narrator is of the song, and I just for whatever reason the sort of veil of mystery had been lifted with the arrival of that song.
The subtlety wasn't there
the
anymore.
Subtlety was no longer there, and it also I feel like does it reference another song or something? Is it a sort of reference to another song? They have another song. I don't know if it's on this record or if it's on a subsequent record that references Hypnotized by Notorious B.I.G. And I feel like maybe this one was kind of a similar case. But anyway, I remember when the song came out, and I remember hating it, and I remember being like, oh, it's totally clear what this genre's intent is. It's just misogyny.
I just looked it up just because I was curious, looking up the lyrics to Bartender. The song that you're thinking of is a song called Crazy Legs.
Yep.
Yes.
And the chorus is literally just word for word, just ripped, almost word for word, just ripped from Hypnotized by B.I.G.
All right, and there's like no reference to that in the liner notes here. That's really weird.
Really?
All right, so Crazy Legs, the writers are Gear, Shane, and Young. What the fuck? And then I see the personnel, and none of those names are here. Okay, but it's Jared, a.k.a. MCUD,
okay, none of those
Sergio.
are the Notorious B.I.G.'s real name. George, like Christopher George Latour Wallace.
Okay, Shane. Okay, also known as MCUD, Jared Shane. Okay, so Shane is MCUD. Okay. Oh my goodness, this is a fucking mystery. All right, West Style is someone who plays guitar.
Are you
That's
sure
Gear.
this isn't a true
Okay.
crime podcast? Like,
This is
Maybe
a
it
mystery.
is. I don't know.
And then we got Chad, aka Chizad, guitars. And then
that
we
was
got
an early
DJ
odds thing if I ever heard it. Yep.
Dude,
Oh,
I'm
boy.
not even joking. DJ Product, DJ Product trademark 1969. All one name on turntables. Then BC, aka BC the Mizak Diza.
Oh boy.
And then just Mock on bass, MAWK. Yeah.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia article for the band and at the past members. The one that sticks out to me, a fellow by the name of Anthony Tiny Biuzzo, who in parentheses, his name is Tiny Bubs.
Oh, Tiny Bubs.
Tiny
Oh,
Bubs.
look at
That's
him.
adorable. I know,
man.
I think
Wow.
the person that isn't Tommy Lee in Methods of Mayhem came from Head PE, but I was trying to like track down like when they started. Like I remember hearing that was like the big thing. It's like it's Tommy Lee from Motley Crue and that guy from Head PE.
That's an interesting contrast. It's like, Tommy Lee, whoa, cool, the guy from Ed PE. Okay.
Sure.
Who's that?
I guess I'll Google them. I think we're also
All right,
learning.
Well, Notorious, yeah.
I-
Notorious B.I.G.'s last name was Wallace, right? So yeah, there's no reference to Wallace on that at all. So that's pretty shitty.
Head PE, Head Planet Earth. What are you doing? What are you doing, Head Planet Earth?
Yeah.
That is what that stands for, by the
Oh,
way.
man. The heirs of Notorious B.I.G. could be getting some royalties from repeat plays of Bartender.
I don't think
guess.
it's happening a lot. Maybe on like Octane radio or something, but
Once again, this is another band I don't know much about, except, like I mentioned, they were much more hip-hop focused than some of their peers, and I feel like at some point down the line they became, like, huge, like, libertarian conspiracy theorists for some reason. Like, that was a huge part of their
became
thing.
Like 9/11 truthers at some point, and they were featured on a few like catatonic youth videos on Facebook of them just going like off the rails. I'm like, why now?
That's right.
There's so much more that you guys could be concerned about. Excuse me, right now. But when we're talking about 9/11 truth, like in the year of our Lord 2019. So anyway, look that up. I'm sure.
Do I need to look this up?
You don't have to, but our listeners can.
Oh boy!
Hit up Jukebox Zeroes
right
with
here.
all of your 9/11 truther conspiracy videos.
Yeah, all your fun. Just send us manifestos, drawings, numbers of buildings.
Yeah, we're Jukebox
7.
Zeroes. We love our loose chain stands.
Yeah.
But yeah, there it is right here. Since 2006, the band has become known for its involvement in the 9/11 truth movement, referencing it in many of their song lyrics and concerts, as well as the concept of the album New World Orphans, and more recently for their political activism, which it doesn't really get into further detail anywhere around here.
Probably better.
But yeah, 9/11 truth movement in 2006, that definitely feels like the statute of limitations has long passed by that point.
Yeah, probably. Not much they could do at that point. They can't put the building back together.
Do you think Jared Gomez is still like 9/11 truth movementing during shows at like fucking, I don't know, the Palladium or wherever?
Oh, definitely. I'm pretty sure those clips from the Catatonic Youth videos are within the past.
Oh, those
few
were from a
years.
recent show? That's incredibly depressing.
This was from yesterday. Yeah.
Oh no! So not only are they doing the night, if it's from yesterday, that means they're breaking quarantine too.
All these guys are, don't you know that?
Honestly, yeah.
They're all anti-mask.
There was actually our good friends Static X just recently did a show in Wisconsin.
Oh no!
Yeah, with Dope, because Edsel Dope is not the new lead singer of Static X. It's a nameless person in a mask made of Wayne Static's face. That's a thing. So it's Static X,
creepy.
Dope, and Non-Point. And it's just like, man.
There must be it takes some real diehards to break quarantine in the middle of a pandemic for Static X, Non-Point, and Dope.
Would you die for Dope?
That's fascinating. That's a fascinating hill to die on.
I mean, at least Smash Mouth's not Dope. Like,
that's true. Oh boy.
I can tell you that I have seen Dope multiple times just because they happen to be on the same show as everyone else that I wanted to go see.
So they're not like one of those acts that are in high demand necessarily as a headliner.
No, I've never seen a card where it was like Dope with, I don't know, Billy's Circus of Interest. I don't know.
Jesus Christ. Head PE is one of their genres that they're listed as is punk rock.
Yeah.
And then something called G-punk, which is a sort of fusion of gangster rap and punk rock.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
Yeah,
that's questionable.
Because they came out of the Bay Area. I forget if they came out of the Bay Area specifically, but they came out of that scene. It was a lot of like fusions Huntington Beach, that was it. It was a lot of like fusions of specific things, and it was just like, okay, like, yeah, I kind of see where they're going with that, but at the same time, like, I unabashedly love Head PE, but at the same time, man, what is wrong with me? Why do I love all this? Stupid nostalgia.
Okay. So I'm going to jump to one of my clips now. This one... this was a band that I was like thoroughly obsessed with until their second record came out, and it was a huge letdown for me. But going back and listening to the album again, some of the tracks still kind of slap on it for me. This is Do You Call My Name by the band Ra.
'Cause you don't know where to go, and nothing is your fate. There's no scenario. Do you call my name? Do you stain my brain? My eyes are blurry and I can't see you anymore.
That was, as I mentioned, Do You Call My Name by Ra. That was like the big song that was pretty frequently played on WAAF, I remember.
Oh, yeah.
And like this is,
I was going to say, oddly enough, around the same time as that Head PE track in like the summer of 2002, you couldn't escape it.
Yeah, and like this, I feel like this kind of stuck out to me amidst all the rest of the nu metal because once again, like their singer Sahaj Taikotin seems to be a very good vocalist.
Yeah, like that's really what.
Yeah, I'll chalk it up to that. Yeah, for sure.
I remember they're another band that I've seen because this is just literally like what bands have actually seen the podcast. But I've seen them. They're wonderful. And I remember a friend of mine was like, oh, yeah, somebody ruined the song Rectifier to me because he kept calling it Rectum Finder. And it was just like, God damn it. It's like, I can never hear that song the same way again. And now you, dear listeners, will never hear Rectifier by Ra the same way again.
I mean, I imagine many of our listeners will never hear Rectifier, for that matter. I don't know. Maybe. So I'm just looking at their Wikipedia page from Los Angeles, California, taking their name from the Egyptian sun god Ra, obviously. I mean, where else could they get it from?
Oh, I thought it was from their love of cheerleading.
Yes, that must be it. Fun fact about the singer, Daniel Sahaj Taikotin. He apparently held the record for a very brief period for the longest single note in a song, having held a high B for 24 seconds during a performance of their track Scorn. He was overtaken later by Jan Werner Danielsen of Norway with 28 seconds in his live version of Nella Fantasia. Guess who he took over the Guess who he took over the previous record from?
Cher? I don't know. I'm just trying to throw any name.
Fucking Maynard James Keenan.
No, not Maynard James Keenan.
Is that note that he holds in The Grudge is pretty fucking long too.
I mean, it's this was a bad idea because it's kind of an obscure name, but if you know it, then it'll make you go, "Oh shit!"
So obscure.
No, it's Morton Harkett from Aha.
Yes, take on me, indeed, baby.
It was not from that song, unfortunately. It was from another song called Summer Moved On. But still, to think that this guy beat Morton Harkett,
you know,
the In or Day or Two guy.
When you're a one-hit wonder and you hold the record for highest note, like it's just, man, okay.
That's nothing to slouch over.
Yeah.
No, and I you know what? Why should that? You know what? Why should that distinction go to someone who's already won other distinctions?
Yeah.
You know what? Let our nu metal bands have a few trophies. Come on, they work real hard.
Damn you, Jan.
Yeah, this is another band. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I was just damning Jan again for taking that trophy.
Jan!
Jan!
This is another Wikipedia article without a whole lot of information on the band. Just to say that there's a little line at the bottom that says there is a new Raw record being created for a 2020 release.
Oh.
I mean, there's not too many months left in 2020, so maybe they should get on that a little more quickly.
Pick up the pace, brah.
It's been a rough year for all of us guys. Come on.
I think what also kind of made this track in particular interesting to me, you don't hear it in the clip I played, but it opens with like kind of like a facsimile of Indian music a little bit with like tablas and sitars and stuff. And then it just immediately goes right into like the nu metal sort of riff that it's based around. But still, it's a neat little contrast kind of.
Yeah, I think that was an example of the fusion sort of working in a lot of ways and help those guys not seem quite as ham-fisted as their peers.
All right, let's go on to another clip. I believe it's your turn to pick, Ashley. Which of your two would you like to pick?
All right, I'm gonna choose this one and then apologize. Let's go with the Liquid Gang.
Excellent.
Okay, here's Blunt Force Trauma by Liquid Gang. Oh my. They're certainly hitting you on the head with that title.
So, like, and the song begins...
Don't know these guys.
they're okay. So they didn't reach epic heights, much like many bands, but like many of the ones that are more memorable are ones that like you'll at least remember a song or two from. These folks headlined the second stage at Local Bazooka, another Massachusetts staple, one year, and I just remember like they were also on some compilation that I listened to, like the best new metal or something, and it was like. I remember hearing a bunch of the other songs and being like, "Oh, these are great," and then like they got to the Liquid Gang song and it was like, "Oh, when I was something to watch my dad get beat down." It was like, "Oh no, oh no,
oh man,
oh man."
This should give you an idea of how. This should give you an idea of how little an impact they've made. This is the one band in all of the clips we have. No Wikipedia article to speak of.
I have never heard of this. This is first time for Baby Boy.
Loco Bazooka. I remember
Loco
Bazooka.
Is this a Loco Bazooka thing?
One of the few times that Power Man 5000 was a headliner.
Yep.
Oh, man.
I got kicked out of a Power Man 5000 headlining show. Anyway,
oh wow,
yeah. So it was so funny enough. It was Power Man, Static X, Chevelle, and Dope, and it was for the stupidest reason. I was in the balcony at the Palladium, and a buddy of mine threw a cup off the balcony, and then another buddy sees that and is like throws another cup off the balcony, and I'm like, look, I have bad luck with this stuff. If I throw a cup, I'm gonna get kicked out. So my buddy grabs my cup, throws it off the balcony. This dude comes up and he's like, "All right, you five out." I was like, "God damn it!"
I shall not be joining you in these cup throwing proclivities.
Exactly. But yeah, with Liquid Gang, because they weren't like a local band. Like I really wouldn't trash a local band that got kind of close but didn't actually make it. Like this was a national band. This was a band that was on a major record label. They're from Philly. Yeah. So there are a bunch of like local bands that were like, mixed, but they're still trying to make it. They're still trying to figure things out. They're still getting things going. So I wouldn't necessarily trash them, but they headlined the second stage and I was just like, this is garbage. Like this is like the bands that like started moving, like that were like right underneath you are local bands that are hungry. They just need a sandwich. And like, here's this band. Oh, when I was I watched my dad get beat down. I don't remember the words in between. God damn it, Liquid Gang.
Both times you imitated it, you said, "I watched my dad get beat down," though.
It's like I remember that so clearly, and I don't know, maybe that's not even the lyric anymore.
I mean, to be fair, that could be a nu metal lyric for any nu metal band.
So true. And I really hope it wasn't this like heartfelt thing that this singer was feeling, because I'm laughing so much at it. It's just, oh no. It's like on the second Puya album, I knew I needed to get rid of it immediately because it's like, hey, get on the Puya train. And it's like, oh no.
Wait, there's a song called "Get on the Puya Train"?
It was like the first song. It was like something off the second album. It was like, I forget. Honestly, that is my memory. It's just like I remember putting it on my CD player after I bought it and being like,
oh boy,
it's the
get
Puya
that
train
off of your CD player.
Like,
I will be staying at the Puya station, thank you very much. The Puya train will be abandoning me. Oh boy. All I can think of with "Watch My Dad Get Beat Down" now is just a really sprightly, lively nu metal song about dad punching.
Five finger dad punch, yeah.
Yeah, gonna punch your dad, I'm gonna punch him, gonna punch your dad. Delivering it in the vein of Your Disease by Saliva for some reason.
I tried looking up "Get on the Puya Train" and all I could find was how to get to Puya Ave, East D Street, Tacoma, Washington, and Tacoma by...
I'm going to look it up because I guarantee you I'm misremembering that lyric, but it was something along those lines. Puya.
The Puya Train, but you got to get on the Puya Train. If you don't get on the Puya Train,
kids,
what kind of train
let's
are you
get on the
into?
Puya Train. The Puya Train's taking off and we're going into the next century.
Got to get on the Wood Davers train.
I'm glad you came with me on that, Pat.
Always. I'm always going to be your right.
We always welcome Homestar references here.
Just desperately... No, that's not how you spell that. What is this? Oh, okay. Sorry. There's a rapper...
Yeah, how do you spell Puya?
P-U-Y-A. But there's a rapper called P.O.U.Y.A.
That's what I assumed, yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
And that's
Romanian
messing up my
rapper.
search results. P.U.Y.A. Here we go. It was off
you
of
gotta
Union.
go to the disambiguation.
That was the one. It was off of Union. Now let me see if I can find. Literally, it's the first lyric to the first album, to the first song on Union.
Is Union the name of the song or the album?
The album.
It's the album, and there's not a Wikipedia article on the album.
Oh my God! This is
I looked up Union by Liquid Gang. I'm not really getting any results. There's an album called Sunshine, however.
Puya.
No, Puya.
This is the Puya coming straight to you. This is the Puya coming straight to you.
That's the one.
Ride, you got to ride this wave. The Puya. Yeah, I think we're talking about getting on the Puya.
So now they're a surf band.
Yeah, that was the one that killed me for Puya.
Yeah, we're
Get
getting
on the
Puya train for sure.
right.
Okay, I think I changed my mind, Pat. Maybe "Killed Me for Puya" might be the tagline for this episode. Why don't we get into another clip?
Sure.
Why don't you lead us into the next one, Pat?
Well, okay, so speaking of Liquid Gang and not shitting on local artists, let's shit on a local artist. I'm going to bring up a track from Harvard/Chelmsford/Shirley, Massachusetts local hometown heroes, Reveille, and their 2001 track, What You Got.
Here it is.
That's the penalty! That's the penalty! Makes a beat so you best keep running! That's the penalty! That's the penalty! What you got? What you got? What you got, homie? Yo, can I ask you something? What the fuck is up, man? You got nothing! It's just a fairy tale stalking, I'm stalking from that 707 pulpit, roughing. You're one of these fakes that be bluffing. Nothing you could say could never.
You're positive this isn't a parody? That abrupt beat change just sounded too perfect.
That beat change is everything. Oh my God. Taking out like the big fat nu metal drums to like 2 beats of a I don't even know that like 808 drums is just absurd. And it really does sound pretty ridiculous when you got the what you got over the top of it too.
What you got? What you got? What you got coming?
So these guys actually weren't terrible on their first record, Laced. I don't know how much you guys heard
wow,
of.
they got a guest appearance by Be Real from Cypress Hill on it.
On the second record? On Bleed the Sky?
On their debut, Laced. That must have cost them.
Oh, yeah. So that one had, oh my God, you're right, yeah.
Yeah, because I did actually really enjoy Laced because I was a freshman in high school when Laced was released, and I remember I never actually met the person from Chelmsford, but like everyone was like, oh yeah, he quit high school or he quit college or he quit something and he just like focused on his dreams, and it was like this whole like Cinderella story of the drummer who made it out of Chelmsford and then like made a major album. And I actually I really liked it. I was really into Laced, and then What You Got happened and I was like, whoa, this is a tone shift. This is like a whole other.
I'm gonna give these guys respect where it's earned, because I guess that first record of theirs, it didn't do so well on All Music, but whatever. They don't like anything. So yeah, there were like a few tracks on that first record that I had friends be like, "Oh yeah, you got to check these songs out," and they were, from what I remember, they weren't like terribly offensive as far as nu metal goes, which I think says something. I feel like the ones that really stuck out probably stuck out because they were really bad. But actually, I think after Bleed the Sky, few of those guys went off to do some bigger things. Or I think if you look at the Reveille Wikipedia page and you look at associated acts, we have Cold, Nullset, Taproot. I mean, these aren't like, the biggest names in music, but like they're national acts. Like, they're still doing their thing. So I think like these guys kind of got like pulled as being, like a nu metal wrecking crew, maybe in some respect. Like, oh yeah, this guy can fill this role as like shitty nu metal bassist. Like, perfect. Let's pull him in. Let's get old Carly Randolph on the phone and see what he's got for us seventh rail crew in our new record, or Shadow Therapy.
Wow. It's funny, like, it also says here in 2001, the group received a Boston Music Award for Rising Star.
Wow.
Oh.
I mean, like, for all that, like, both Pat and I know about local music, or have, like, made a point to know about it, because we're also, like, hosts of a local music program in, like, Tufts College Radio, but, like, Reveille just completely passed me by. I know nothing of this group whatsoever.
So What You Got was actually, that was the one I heard on the radio the most. And it's funny because, like, I was, the first time I heard the song, I remember I was in the car with my dad, and he was like, he had obviously a adverse reaction to it. And I felt like I had to apologize for my generation at that moment. I was like, you know what, Dad, like, I know I'm into some dumb shit right now, but I assure you this is not it. This is bad. I'm not a fan of this. Let's switch over to the Mudvayne station and for some more elegant compositions. No, and I was like that hook. What you got is just, it's fucking obnoxious. It's stupid, and I think the production choices of, they're really forcing you to reconcile between the hip hop and the metal aspect of your hip hop metal, your rap metal here. Yeah, it wasn't blended very well. But I think they went on to do, their guitarist went on to play with a band called City Sleeps. And Genuflect is a band I've heard around town too, that those guys are doing shit.
It feels very much like when you go from Laced to Bleed the Sky, it almost just like, it's the absolute like typifying of, so the studio has some notes.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, yeah, so the label has some notes. It's just like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, all right, to clarify, what I was talking about before with their association. So it looks like what they have a few guest spots on this record, where the dude from Taproot sings on a song, and then the dude Scooter Ward, some real big names. Scooter Ward from Cold sings on a track.
I remember.
His name is fucking Scooter.
That's right, that is his
Scooter
name.
Ward. And Stephen Richards of Taproot, and then Amy Allen. Who is that? She is a sort of singer-songwriter. She's been with the Interrupters, Sublime in Rome. Okay.
I've heard of the Interrupters. They're like kind of a ska-ish oriented like punk group.
Anyway, she looks very nice, and I won't say anything bad.
Because that's the important thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah. I'm looking on the Wikipedia page for this band, and like to build on what Ashley said about like the studio having notes. In like the article, though initially announcing the band would be releasing a third album through Elektra Records, once again enlisting the help of producer Howard Benson, this album never saw a release, and they soon departed the label. Singer Drew Similardis, I probably pronounced that wrong, claimed Reveille had been pressured to make more accessible radio-oriented music by the label, stating, "Our biggest problem was always battling with people at the label. They were trying to market us to 12-year-old girls, and it didn't work. That was our big problem with them."
Wow. Any of you guys remember a local pop-punk group by the name of Fake ID, by any chance?
No.
I do not.
So, yeah, they weren't nu metal. We're talking about pop punk, which is a completely different asshole.
Which is the nu metal
day,
of punk.
Kind of, yeah.
In my opinion, yeah. Like,
Anyway, so they were, that was a genre that was popular kind of around the same time. And my band Rancor we made it into the WBCN High School Battle of the Bands in 2002. with like a bunch of other knucklehead bands, but then Fake ID, who like I think at that point already had a label, or were already on some sort of label, and like already had a couple professional recordings under their belt at that point, also participated in the festival, and they didn't win, but they got in like second place or something.
They shouldn't have been there.
They should not have, like, this band should not have been there. I think about that from time to time.
That's kind of shitty.
Yeah, it was a good experience either way. We played at Bill's Bar. It was fun.
All right. This one has kind of a weird story behind it. I'm going to play a song. This isn't like the big single from the band, such as it is, if you can call like their big song a big song whatsoever. Like supposedly their big song, a song called No Light, was one that got played on WAAF, but I don't remember it ever appearing there at any point whatsoever. But I'm bringing this one up because I mentioned it on when we did the Bad Covers episode on Rock Candy. And I mentioned that this was one of the worst covers I've ever heard. And I'm just going to share it for you now because I only talked about it. I didn't play a clip of it. Here's Paranoid by a band called Third Strike.
All day long I think of things, but nothing seems to satisfy. Think I'll lose my mind if I don't find something to pacify. Can you help me? Occupy my brain. Whoa, yeah.
I mercifully cut it off before it reaches the rap breakdown.
Yeah, you did.
What?
Not a joke, by the way. There's a rap breakdown. Yep. They tack on a rap breakdown for this cover of a Black Sabbath song.
Like you do.
Like you do. I have questions.
This was putrid.
I have questions. First of all, who the fuck are these people? Third Strike?
Yes, it's a band called Third Strike.
You're literally the only person I've heard talk about this band.
From California in the United States. Supposedly their song No Light, which reached number 36 on the modern rock charts and number 23 on the mainstream rock charts. Supposedly this was a big nu metal staple on like all the radio stations, but I, for the life of me, don't remember hearing it at all.
I
can't say I do either.
I mean...
In fact, like, when I thought of this song and Third Strike in general for this podcast, I tried to, like, wrap my head around how I even knew about Third Strike at all. Because I remember hearing multiple songs by them at one point, and thinking back, I couldn't remember how, since I'd never heard them on the radio. And then, like, it finally jogged my memory. So my brother Glenn and I used to take skiing lessons at Neshoba Valley in Westford, Massachusetts.
Hell yeah.
And during one of our lessons, after the lesson was over, we basically had free reign to just ski the mountain all we wanted. We had just sort of gone our separate ways and were just skiing. And over at the lodge, there was a stack of CDs in just little paper cases, not like shitty paper cases, like actual got them printed up sort of things, for a sampler of Third Strike songs. It had that cover on it as well as two other songs. No Light was one of them. And that's how I found out about them. And for some reason, I thought they were just the shit at the age of like 14, 15, 13. I don't even remember.
I mean, they're no 12 stone.
I thought they were the shit and made no effort to even look further into them whatsoever beyond those three songs.
I mean, it's a good thing that they're named Third Strike because they're out of here. All right, anyway. I remember I know about them and specifically this cover of Paranoid because I was for like a hot minute I was a DJ at my college's radio station WXPL in Fitchburg, Mass. And
I was the program director at WXPL
really?
At one point.
I didn't know that. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, but yeah, so I was a DJ, and back when they were moving into digitizing as I was on my way out. But like we'd get those. I forget what they're called, but like they call them ARCs in like advanced reader copies in publishing. But like the advanced copies are like the DJ copies, promo CDs.
Yeah.
And there was one of that, and no one cared about it, so I took it, and it was just like, yeah, nope, that's a thing that exists.
Oh boy, I remember taking so many promo copies that just no one gave a shit about except me.
Yeah.
Like, everyone was just like, yeah, whatever, when I said, how come you're not excited for this Simian Mobile Disco album? Oh, boy. So, yeah, Third Strike. This band lasted quite a while at first, 1995 to 2004. They got a brief resurgence, such as it was in 2007 until 2010, when the lead singer passed away in 2010 at the age of 39. And, they had a song on the Tomb Raider Cradle of Life soundtrack. They toured on Ozfest and Warped Tour. And it does, it's a nu metal song by a nu metal band. Mm-hmm. That just happens to be, kind of, really taking some liberties with an Ozzy song.
Yeah, so it's a little more sprightly than the original, and probably some more like Typo Negative style chorused guitars happening to sort of bring us into the goopy 2000s. And
the goopy 2000s.
And wow, gee whiz, I've never heard of a Paranoid cover before. Holy macaroni.
And that's
other Black Sabbath songs exist.
Mm-hmm. What would be a good Black Sabbath cover for them? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm thinking like, I don't want to hear their version of Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. Like,
no, but like Fairies Wear Boots, like a fun buggy, fun kind of like boogie woogie nu metal track. Like, I'd be into that. Mm-hmm. Why not? Why the hell not? Be better than fucking Seether's cover of the George Michael song, Careless Whispers.
That's definitely a nu metal trend, just making like overly machismo-y covers of sensitive songs. Mm-hmm. Like Limp Bizkit's famed cover of Faith.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
And we got Godsmack's cover of Rocky Mountain Way and Good Times, Bad Times by Led Zeppelin. That they named their fucking greatest hits record after. A cover.
Ah, man, I missed all of that. Okay, good. I'm glad I wasn't here for this. Okay.
I'm filling y'all in. I keep up.
I feel like whenever a nu metal band did one of those kind of like, just a really, intense macho version of a really, poppy kind of song. Because this is like well before, the kind of the ironic hipster cover became a thing. Like, that sort of felt to me like their way of going like, I like this song, but I'm not gay.
Yep. Well, and
especially
even
with the George Michael stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even recently, it was charting, and for a very long time, the Five Father Dad Punch cover of Gone Away. Like, it's just like, it's still like, oh, we're still getting this. Ivan Moody, we'll be talking about him in a minute. But yeah.
I was not familiar with this at all.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I want to.
And it feels like heaven's gone away. I don't know the lyrics. It's not the point. It's bad. It's not good.
And it feels with barbells.
In a free work. In a free work. Everything's gone. That's the Offspring song.
Yes. Yep.
Offspring song. Okay, I love that song. It's
a good song when the Offspring did it. They got more credit than Biggie did on 36 Crazy Fists on Crazy Legs.
36 Crazy Fists?
That's another band that exists, apparently.
Oh my God, you're right. It is.
Some of these band names.
Crazy Fist? You're right. I forgot about that one.
If there's one thing that nu metal artists of today love, it's fists and fisting. That's all I'm going to say. All right.
They're from Alaska.
Yep.
Holy shit.
I'm going to play another clip, and while I'm doing that, I'm just going to look up list of nu metal bands to see, if there's like some real crackers in there. So I guess this will be your last clip, Ashley. Why don't you introduce it for us?
Sure. So this
is the only one out of the clips you picked that I recognized as a song.
So I don't remember the name of the song because I keep forgetting if it's falling or down, but it's going in the downward direction. Down. It's going in the downward direction. And it's by the band Motograter, which I'll talk more about later.
Here's Down by Motograter.
There's no one coming. And there's no way out. I've been falling.
Yep, that's nu metal.
Oh, sure is. Front to
I
back.
definitely remember hearing this on WAAF a surprising amount of times because, for all intents and purposes, like Motograter hasn't been a particularly successful, maybe by their own terms, but not like in a big, band sense. They're still the kind of band that's just playing like, little tiny festival shows, except they're in a dive bar kind of thing.
Well, Motograter,
but somehow they also have like a dunk tank.
Well, Motograter, there's a couple of reasons I wanted to talk about this. Number one is because Motograter gave us Ivan Moody of Five Father Dad Punch.
Oh God, they did, didn't they?
They did.
Ooh, yes, they did. Wow, the progenitor of the Five Finger Dads. Wow.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed the song. This is another band I got to see live. I got to see them at Local Bazooka one year when it was in Fitchburg, and the thing that I actually really respect them for is they literally just and again, I'm not a musician, but they built an instrument out of metal and welding knowledge, and that is the titular Motograter. It's just
that's pretty cool. Even if you don't care for the band itself, the fact that they built their own instrument is pretty rad.
Yeah, and
they built a Motograter.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, here it is right here at the top of the Wikipedia page. They are best known for their homemade instrument, the Motograter, designed with industrial cable and guitar pieces that create a unique bass sound, and painting themselves in a tribal-style body paint for live concerts. I mean, lots of bands do that.
Yeah.
They have a separate page for the Motograter? They don't. But let me look up the Motograter instrument. I kind of want to see what it looks like.
While you're looking that up, it's like a full body. It's like a full, man-sized.
It's a robot.
I see. Okay, so
it's hard to describe. It's like just an elongated. From what I understand, it's like an elongated piece of cable that I guess you just sort of. You press down on a panel or something, and that sort of creates slack and a different note, and then you just sort of hit it with a drumstick.
Yeah, it's some sort of theremin,
and that's got some kind of pickups or something.
Yeah, it's like a full body theremin or some shit. Mm-hmm. I see. Interesting.
Which full body theremin
supposedly
absolutely needs to be the name of something. Maybe not my ska band, but someone's.
That's a Flaming Lips song.
But yeah, and
sure.
if you can incorporate some of that into ska.
I will tell you this. I would have gotten fully behind the album. I would have been like, oh, this is amazing. Everybody needs to listen to this. Except I couldn't get past the fact that every song on the album that they put out had a couple of seconds intro. And so it's like a separate track intro. So it's like a 10-second intro too. And so this one the song that we just heard was Down. And the intro to it would be NWOD. And it was like that for the entire album.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia article, and I'm seeing exactly what you mean.
So, if they had yeah, no, go ahead, Lilz.
It's a 22-track album, half of which are, like you said, just 30 seconds at most, and 15 seconds at the least, and they're just bits of silence, like you say.
Mm-hmm. And
that's really stupid.
Not everything needs a goddamn intro. I had this problem when I saw Evanescence way back during their first album tour, and it was some festival they were playing, and every song had this industrial intro, and it's just you don't need this. Play your fucking song. Get on with it, Evanescence.
Creating a mood.
Yeah, some of those Evanescence songs already have their own intros anyway.
Yes!
It's just putting a hat on a hat at that point.
Exactly. And that's very much how I felt about Motograter. Hat on a hat.
Yeah. The reason I'm laughing so much reading this is just looking at some of these, because the titles for all these silent bits are just the names of the song that's coming after it backwards.
Yep.
So then, like you said, you have the one leading into Down called Nwad. There's one leading into a track called Collapse called Espalok.
Which sounds amazing. But
yeah, that could sound like something in Latin or something. Then you've got one called Get Back, which leads into it with Chabteg.
Harley.
And my favorite, my absolute favorite, there's a track called Red with the preceding track Dur.
Yep.
Literally dur.
Dur. Dur, people, dur.
That's how you make a concept album, guys.
Someone should have stopped them. Someone should have kicked the door in of wherever they were and said, no, add it to the song. Add it to the song that exists.
But
I refuse to put dur on this album.
But yeah, here it is. Vocals: Ivan Ghost Moody, along with the rest of the members, along with
His middle name is Ghost?
Along with Nuke, Grater, Crispy, Smur, The Waz, and J.R. Swartz.
Crispy?
The Waz?
Who's Crispy?
Crispy and the Waz? That sounds like a morning duo.
Oh, boy.
Hey, tune into Crispy and the Waz, everybody.
We got your Friday morning fart song after this traffic report. It's Crispy and the Waz.
Oh, this thing's broken.
I'm seeing so many parallels learning about this between this band and another band, which I didn't prepare a clip for, Mushroom Head.
Oh my god, I unabashedly love Mushroom Head and can't stand Mushroom Head and love Mushroom Head. I don't know.
Because I had that debut album of theirs, and that's another band where, like, they give, all their members just dumb, stupid nicknames like Schmoitz and Pig Venus.
Pig Venus was the one that I remember.
And, like, I'm actually going to look this up real quick. Because what they did with, like, silent tracks is just confusing as all hell. And I have to... Yeah, like, it's basically a 13-track album, and then there's 42 tracks of absolute silence before it gets to the hidden track 43.
Yep.
My goodness. So I feel like a lot of that is Mr. Bungle's fault. And I'm someone who absolutely loves Mr. Bungle, Faith No More, most things that, like, Patton has done.
Right.
And very important to, like, my musical upbringing. But the first Mr. Bungle album has, like, these ridiculous pseudonyms for everybody. So Mike Patton is Vlad Drac. The drummer is Heifetz. Trevor, what's his name? Trevor Dunn is... Oh, no, I'm sorry. The Trey Spruance plays as part of Scummy. And then, Trevor Dunn actually just goes by Trevor Dunn.
Just to really throw you off.
Clinton, yeah. And then Clinton McKinnon, the horn player, goes by Bar, which is like the German word for bear. And then Theo Lengiel just goes by Theo. So I feel like they're kind of responsible for that, like, ridiculous fucking nonsense pseudonym trend.
That would make a lot of sense considering how big of an influence Faith No More was to them. So it sort of stands to reason they would have also got all these people, all these new metal artists influenced by Faith No More probably also glommed onto Mr. Bungle as well.
Yeah, Bungle had actually a big influence on Mushroom Head as well, and Korn actually comes out and says that like opening riff to Blind was completely they call it a Mr. Bungle chord. They said it was lifted from a Bungle
Interesting
song. So yeah, those guys were definitely listening to those types of bands, and I think what bothers me is that I love those I love those bands, Faith No More, Mr. Bungle, and I feel like what these other later groups did with it was
ridiculous.
It's just not quite as elegant and or maybe it didn't need to be done again. Maybe that's what it was. Like, these guys filled the niche. It didn't need to be repeated, or you could have done it in a way that was a little more artful.
I feel like they just they missed the point after so many vodkas and Monster Energy drinks.
Well, that's true too, and shitty fucking Bakersfield weed.
Okay, let's go on to another. Sorry, was I talking over you, Pat?
Absolutely not.
All right, let's go on to another track. This is your last track, Pat. You kind of teased that you had something to say about this specific one earlier on.
Wow. So, yeah, we're going to go into this last one here, and I absolutely fucking hate this song. And actually opening up the Wikipedia article, it came out a couple years earlier than I thought it did. But it was released in March of 2004, which I feel like is a bit too late for the nu metal crew. But we're talking about Cold, the first single released in March 2004 by rock band Crossfade.
All right, here's Cold by Crossfade.
What I really meant to say is I'm sorry for the way I am. I never meant to be so cold. Never meant to be so cold. What I really meant to say is I'm sorry for the way I am.
Well, this is just Nickelback.
It's just Nickelback. I'm sorry. You're right. I forgot.
There's no other way to say it. It's just Nickelback.
I was actually very sad because I thought Crossfade was this band Crossbreed that I had listened to that fell into obscurity, that like they had the light show and they had the costumes and they had the like Rammstein wannabe but American and can't light things on fire, so we just have a bunch of LED lights.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they were great. I remember them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what they had I think they had a couple singles on AAF. No, this is Crossfade.
Yeah.
And what we're dealing with now is more of they're listed as more of a post-grunge act. But I feel like we're way too late to be saying that this is post-grunge. We're in Nickelback territory at this point. And we're also
I feel like it's probably a good thing that we played that too, just so, because like we sort of said, like, you know, the connective tissue between post-grunge and nu metal earlier, like it's very thin and flimsy, and like this clip is kind of indicative of that.
Absolutely, and I think it's sort of a perfect example of record companies trying to bring those two demographics together. And you're going to start to see a lot more of this as the decade goes on. Once bands like Hinder come out, and then eventually, these sort of later records by Shinedown or whatever.
Theory of a Dead Man. That
Theory of a Dead Man, and it's like they're not quite nu metal because they're not hip hop influenced in any way, and in a lot of ways they're sort of like carrying on a sort of rockist attitude about things. So there's nothing really like hip hop about this particular song, but it is definitely a sort of it fits in pretty well with where nu metal fans would go at this point in the decade, because we're kind of branching off into, for me, grunge fans in the 90s branched off into either going into nu metal or they got into indie rock. Like they either, towards the end of the 90s, they either got into Dismemberment Plan or they got into Limp Bizkit. This sort of...
Or Neutral Milk Hotel if you're a real weirdo.
Yeah, exactly. And this split like almost got a little more severe as we get further on into the 2000s, and we're... And it also ties into the cultural differences between suburban and urban areas, where I feel like a lot of urban areas were starting to gravitate more towards indie rock and like what was going on with the Strokes and the post-punk movement and shit like that. And then in the suburbs, where I was living and working for a lot of the 2000s, in addition to post-hardcore and regular hardcore, there was still a pretty big following of nu metal, like this sort of updated version of straight-ahead rock, nu metal equivalent of AOR music that like these people's parents would be listening to. And yeah, that we're starting to see a lot of that happen at this point. So my story about this song, I'm going to paint a picture for you.
That wasn't the story?
That wasn't the story. So, I mean, it's not really a story. Just going to, like, paint a picture for you. It's New Year's Eve 2006 going into New Year's Day 2007. I was living in Weymouth, Massachusetts in an apartment complex, and I had a friend who lived across the street from me, a few weirdly enough, he just like lived on the same street as me, a few houses down, and I would go over there to party from time to time. And I went over there for a New Year's Eve party, and this was 2006. I was like 22, so I'm really dumb. So I had my striped sweater and my fucking entire bottle of Jack Daniels with me, and
oof.
Yeah, so I'm milking this for most of the evening, and I get way too drunk because I'm stupid. I end up in the upstairs region of my friend's house. He lived in a sort of like 2-story colonial Victorian house. I ended up upstairs. There's a bathroom up there. There was also like a couch or something, like a lounge area up there. So I went up there to like throw up or whatever, and find my way to the couch. And at one point, this particular group of people were very nu metal friendly and hardcore friendly. And I was passed out, and what broke me out of this slumber was them blasting the song Cold by Crossfade. And there was something about the unique mastering and like equalization of that song. It's meant to be like super punchy for radio. That just like really upset me and like sent me into a panic where I feel like this is the sort of song that would be perfect at like Guantanamo Bay. 'Cause like the feeling that I got of being like, I just threw up. I still probably need to throw up more, need to eat something. And this is like the last set of frequencies that I need to be hearing right now. And since then, I've had a very visceral hatred. I mean, the song is terrible and like generic and stupid. And we get a music video. The band plays in a dark room of a house, and a woman walks into the house, standing, admiring the band for a while. Then walks up to Ed Sloan, who is the lead singer, but he continues to play and ignores her. She then walks.
Sorry,
into the
did
room.
you say they're standing in pirate land for a while?
Standing and admiring.
Yar,
the band.
matey, why you be so cold?
She's fucking.
Oh man, I don't know why I misheard that so badly.
I mean, that's pretty good too. So she walks into her room, falls on his bed, and finds a guitar under his sheets. A possible reference that he played music before the loved person in question. She proceeds to pack some items into a bag and walks back to where the band is playing towards Sloan. The woman stands there for a while. Then she goes to the bathroom with Sloan right behind her. She picks up a picture.
Why are you doing this? Why are you recapping the music video? This has long stopped being about your story.
She picks up a picture of the two of them and throws them into the toilet, symbolizing the end of their relationship. She takes a toothbrush and then walks through Sloan, who becomes transparent, making a reference to how he was never really there for her. So she goes out of the bathroom to the door and stops to look back at the band playing. Of course. Sloan looks at her, then looks away. She then leaves the house, presumably for good. End scene.
If I may, I would also like to paint a picture.
Excellent.
This picture is about how this song makes me feel, and it makes me feel like I'm yawning and someone has just thrown spider webs in my mouth.
Excellent.
I love that description.
It's just like,
that's so perfect.
I have no control over this. Why?
Oh no, this is unpleasant and I'm not concerned, but I don't want this. This was not something I asked for.
How did you get so many spider webs? Have you been saving them?
Why do you have so many spider webs?
Like to get enough spider webs to be able to choke a human being.
Why would you ever want more than one spider web?
Are there bugs or aren't there?
You have destroyed the homes of too many spiders.
That leads us into our final clip, my final pick. We're very good at segues. Here's one. This is another one that is kind of,
if you will.
Yes, crossfade. Oh boy. This is one that's kind of in a similar vein to Bodies by Drowning Pool, in that, like, this was an actually pretty big song in, like, nu metal circles, and I remember it being, like, a big staple on WAAF for, like, the longest time. Like, they had, like, a little, you know, our weekly requests sort of thing they did on Saturdays. And, like, there was a period where, like, for weeks in a row, this song was the #1 requested song. And now this band is just nothing immediately after the album. So it's kind of in that similar vein that they got really huge off of, like, one song and then just disappeared entirely. The only difference is this band didn't have a sad sort of lead singer story behind it. But anyway, here's the track. This is Poem by Taproot.
No.
Our song is a poem to myself. It helps me to live. In case of fire, crash the glass and move on into your home.
Taproot, an American rock band from Ann Arbor, Michigan, where my grandparents live. And, oh, wow.
I don't know why that's so funny.
It says here, like, their single, this song, Poem, was the #5 most played rock track in 2002, so I hadn't even scratched the surface of, like, how successful it was on that level. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty high to reach and then just immediately disappear.
Yeah. Like, okay. Because I remember when they came out with Gift and Fred Durst of the Limp Bizkit fame come at me.
Yeah, that was a big selling point. Mm-hmm. That, like, Fred Durst
they
was
were a
championing
Durst find.
They were a Durst find, but they said no. And that was the real big thing, is, like, he wanted them. And, like, I forget where, but they leaked, like, the voice message that he left them. And it was just this really sad, like, hey, bro, you know... It's, you know, hey, I guess we got to go different ways, but, like, come on, bro. Like, I forget the specifics, so don't quote that. But, like, it was very, like, sad Fred Durst because he couldn't get Taproot.
Oh.
Oh, no, hold on. I'm pulling it up on I'm pulling it up on YouTube.
If you're looking at the same thing that I'm looking at, I'll just let you read it. From the Formation and Independent Releases section. Oh no, you got a clip.
Steve, Fred Durst. Hey, man. You fucked up. You don't ever bite the hand that feeds in this business, bro. And your fucking manager, so-called guy's a fucking idiot, loser motherfucker going nowhere. You just chosen that path. Took you under my wing, brought you to my house. Fucking talk about your ass on radio and press. And you embarrassed, like, me and the Interscope family. Your association with Limp Bizkit doesn't exist. Your manager slings our name around. He's going to be blackballed and probably be erased. And you will too. He's a fucking idiot. You're going to fucking learn from this time right here. I hope you let your band know that you just fucked yourself. You need to be associated with somebody in this business. You need something to get you out there and put you out there and believe in it. Now you got enemies, and you're fucking yourself already. Tell your friend that. Don't fucking show up at my shows, because if you do, you're going to get fucked. Alright? You and your fucking punk ass, man. You call your fucking manager, David Menezes, whatever. Ask him what he's done and doing. You're a fucking dumb motherfucker. You're learning right now exactly how to ruin your career before it gets started. All the luck, brother. Fuck you.
I mean, in all honesty,
so that was Fred. That was Fred Durst cursing out vocalist Stephen Richards' answering machine after they said no.
That's incredible, and don't worry, I'll make sure that clip gets into the show.
Oh my god!
I believe Taproot also, if I remember correctly, thinking back to like the early 2000s, they had some big support from Jack Osbourne as well. They were
really
getting like pushed on, because I think they were like they got pushed into being like one of the more main acts of Ozfest at one point.
Oh yeah, here it is right here. With the help of Ozzy Osbourne's son, Jack, Taproot landed a spot on the second stage of the 2000 and 2001 Ozfest tour.
Mm-hmm. Right. So at the time, I remember checking out that band because I was really into Faith No More, and like I was into Faith No More when nu metal was actually a thing. So I was like kind of curious to actually check out bands that were influenced by these guys, and through I forget what it was, some website said that Taproot was such a band. So I went and like check out their first single from the record before Poem, and I was like, yeah, sure, it's like pretty generic nu metal shit. And then this song Poem came out in 2002, and I was like, he is like trying really hard to be Lane Staley, not Mike Patton, but Lane Staley from Alice in Chains. And then
a little bit,
there's another single that comes off that same record where it's blatantly obvious that they're trying to do this sort of dense Alice in Chains harmony thing, because it's like this particular song is like pretty bland nu metal, but then there's like a weird like cluster of vocal harmonies on top that's like clearly meant to be a like Lane Staley, Jerry Cantrell sort of vocal approach, and it just sounded so
kind of is.
stupid.
It kind of is.
So,
and I also remember, sorry, go ahead, Ashley. I have more stories, but please continue.
Well, and especially like honestly, up until you said that, I didn't make the Faith No More connection, but I absolutely see it, especially if you listen to Gift, the first album that they put out. They have a song called Mirror's Reflection, and I don't remember the lyrics, but it's very much like, in my opinion, it's the closest thing to grindcore you're going to get in nu metal, just because it changes so much on a dime. It's just like oh, my mirrors reflect. Yeah. Whoa, you say that you don't want to know me. And it's just like, what is happening? Like, what? Like, I'm all about experimenting. I'm all about trying new things, but like, this is too many new things all at once. Like, hold on.
Oh man. So my main connection to Taproot, like, I mean, this was like, obviously I was into it much more like when I was, more into nu metal, but they were just another band that kind of came and went. The one big story that I always kind of associate with the band that I currently play in, Surprise Party, I play drums with them. During one practice, our guitarist Robbie was the only other person there. Our bassist Jeff from the Smash Mouth episode had not shown up yet, so we were just having a conversation. At this point, Robbie still lived in Groton, which was like a stone's throw away from Nashua, New Hampshire. And just to break conversation, he said, like, "Do you remember that band Taproot?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Yeah, what about them?" And he said, "They're playing at Fody's on Friday." For full context, Fody's is like a big American bar and grill type place. This would have been like 2011 or something. Fody's in Nashua.
You know what? I'd have a steak and watch Taproot. Fuck it.
No, Fody's Great American Tavern. Great food, great music. On
one of those
9
is true.
Clinton Street in Nashua, New Hampshire. Wow,
not a
roasted
sponsor.
Chicken meatballs, tavern hot wings, spinach and artichoke dip. Ooh, gluten-free. Tavern nachos, Canadian poutine. Wow, exotic. Tavern lettuce wraps, sweet chili calamari. Wow. Manja and ginger soy pot stickers.
I'm going to go today.
Let's all go today.
Let's all go to Fody's, where the Fode is.
The Fode is.
We tried to call it Foodies, but we messed up.
Yeah, we fucked up.
No regrets.
New Hampshire,
I
it's
don't
really
say-
hard to rechange the names of things.
I don't say this to trash Foodies because I'm sure they're in the same boat as like every other restaurant and just trying to do their best at this point. And I've drank there before with Robbie and Jeff, and it's a very lovely place. I just brought it up to like sort of be like, wow, that's a huge height to fall from like the 5th most played rock song of 2002 to playing with a band with waitresses with mozzarella sticks walking in front of you perpetually.
Can I interest you in some calamari? I'm listening.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
No, it's
mozzarella sticks. I brought you sticks. I just put these sticks down. Sorry.
There's an answer. Poem to myself. So, I'm sorry. That's me. I'm sorry. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Dropped a glass. Sorry.
What's that? You want extra guac? What? I'm sorry. The band is really... Can you just turn it down? Can you turn... The Taproots are very loud right now. They need to turn it down. The Taproots are really
I said, do you have any specials today? Do you have any fish? It's Friday. It's Lent. Do you have any fish?
I'm sorry. Do we have a wish? Are you a genie? Oh my gosh. Can I wish that the Taproots turn it down?
So that was our last clip.
Was it now?
Normally this would be the point where I ask about, like, whether it's the best of all time or not, but obviously that doesn't apply here.
Is nu metal the best of all time? Obviously.
So I'm going to do what I said I would do and haven't gotten to yet. I have the list of nu metal bands on Wikipedia page open, and I'm going to look for just delightful names from C-listers. As we mentioned, there's 36 Crazy Fists right there. That we made mention of them. Here's Animal, except it's an acronym. Oh, they're from Argentina, so that's pretty neat.
Ooh.
Let's see. In the B section, Big Blue Monkey.
That's a name.
But apparently they went on to be the rock band Story of the Year, which is quite an adjustment. Yeah.
What?
Maybe you've heard of them. Let's see. In the D section, there's Despair's Ray, but it's D with an apostrophe, so it's like Cajun.
Wait,
sort of.
is that the Japanese act, like the J-Rock act?
Oh yeah, yeah. They're a visual K band. I'm not sure what they're doing in the nu metal section. Mm-hmm. There's one called Dead, which is just DED. Oh shit, they're a recent band. They were formed in 2016.
Ooh. Get that off my screen.
Just oof.
Pick a new genre, guys.
Yeah, why are you bringing that back? Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't know why this band is here, because I don't know if they're more associated with crunkcore more than anything, but I'll mention it anyway. In the F section, we have Family Force 5. So named because they're a Christian rock band as well. The Guano Apes from the G section.
Oh, I remember them. I remember Guano Apes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In H, Human Waste Project.
That song sucked.
Yeah, they played it on wrestling all the time. Like, WWE really wanted you to buy the Guano Apes.
That was an AAF staple around, 96, 97, if I remember correctly.
As far as you're aware, did WAF ever want to buy Jeff Killed John or Carnivool?
Carnivool?
Oh, I've heard of Carnivool. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Carnivool was being played on AAF. That name definitely sounds familiar. What was the other one? Jeff Killed Sun?
John.
Sun Kill Moon?
No, not Sun Kill Moon.
Betty Kill Veronica?
How about Lollipop Lust Kill?
Oh, I remember.
Or Mad at Gravity. Boy, oh boy. It's actually not quite as many ridiculous sounding names as I thought there would be.
I feel like the Wikipedia, just because of time has been kind to nu metal because it came out as Wikipedia was rising. So people weren't necessarily putting in. Yeah, I feel like the timing, Wikipedia, I think was right after the nu metal boom period. But I could be completely wrong in this, and who knows? But I'm sorry, Lilz. You were telling us more about shitty band names.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it all comes down to taste, I'm sure. But 1,000 Foot Crutch, that's one.
That is a name.
The Band with No Name, all one word.
Oh, that is a choice.
I just got a text from my wife that says, "I showed you Carnivool." That's hilarious. I totally remember that name. That's really funny. So why don't we share share our final thoughts on the phenomenon known as nu metal and where do we go?
Really
where do we go with the genre from
shared? Here? We don't usually do that with the roundup episodes necessarily.
No, but we can do new. I mean, how do we usually wrap up these roundups?
I think we just abruptly cut them off.
All right.
Should we just be saying a very long sentence just so that you have time to cut?
No, it's fine. We've already spent more than 2 hours talking about nu metal at this point. We should wrap it up.
Yeah.
Oh boy, thank you so much for being on the program, Ashley. I've been meaning to have you on for a while now. I'm glad we finally made it work.
Yeah.
This was so much fun. Thank you.
I'm glad we could talk about something you were so passionate about.
Yeah. No, and
what are you doing, Pat?
Well, what's going on? Okay.
Nothing.
What do you
keep going?
Pat's getting into a fight, y'all. Pat's fighting something. We can't see it.
Oh no. Have you got anything you want to plug, Ashley?
Yeah. So obviously you heard from the beginning of the podcast. I run a podcast called Is It Transphobic? You can find that at isittransphobic.com. If you are a theater maker or just interested in that stuff, you can find me at ashleyLaurenRogers.com. And then finally, we are starting a web series based on the stage combat focused, queer centric and pro wrestling inspired show that I do called Scowl. It'll be Scowl.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun. We did Self-Isolation Devastation over in August, and that went over really well. So we're gonna continue doing a monthly web series. It's gonna be called Scowl Digital Defenestration. So
fantastic.
Yeah. So you can find that at scowlfight.com.
Great. Do you have anything to plug, Pat?
Wasn't there a band that had a song called Scowl? Was it Raw?
Oh, I guarantee you.
That's no.
I'm sorry.
If
it was Scorn. Never mind. With a K.
This is our new song. I vaguely hate you, I guess.
Nothing really to plug this month. I think check out some of the other shows on the Zero Science Network, but we got must-watch movies. I'm doing a episode on Friday the 13th. Nate Nemitz will be back on the program. He's sort of our I guess my unofficial co-host now on that show, but because he's also not seen a ton of movies. But yeah, that'll be coming out later this month. And I have a discography deep dive in the works. I was originally going to have it out this month, but I think it's probably not going to start until November or possibly December, but that will be on Soundgarden, Seattle grunge band Soundgarden. And yeah, that should be a lot of fun. And Old Men Yell at Cloud still putting around and listening to records, and Jim's still like really horny. And I'm still really hungry for McDonald's, and Christopher still hates the 1970s.
See, because I'm really horny for the 1970s, so this sounds like it's right up my alley.
Oh no!
Oh, me too. Me too. There's a lot of
you're
a lot
specifically
of
horny for 1970s McDonald's at that.
Oh yeah, I mean, who isn't?
Ooh. Like pre McNuggets. Wow.
Oh yeah.
You're jazzed for the Hambo. That's a Burger King sandwich, isn't it?
The McHambo?
The Hambo?
The Hambo. The Hambo.
I don't even know.
No, hold up.
Maybe it's Blimpie.
What did you just say?
I've derailed this. I'm sorry.
No, the Hambo is a traditional dance that originated in Sweden in the late 19th to early 20th centuries. It is a couple dance in 3/4 time, danced to music with a strong accent on the first beat and a tempo that varies
my
from
mistake.
moderate to
It wasn't
fast.
the Hambo, it was the Yumbo. A hot ham and cheese sandwich from Burger King.
I'm really confused.
So I'm going to plug other Zero Science Network shows as well. Go check those out. Go check out the other show that I do with our good friend Scott Kurland, Hell is a Musical. We're going to be putting our Halloween episode out this month. We did Little Shop of Horrors, the movie, with David Allen Prescott. So that's going to be fun.
Oh, fun.
The Yumbo is a fucking ham and cheese sandwich. A hot ham and cheese. That's fucking disgusting.
You know, the thing I just said.
Removed from the menu in 1974. Good God. What a time.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. And on that note, our theme song is Sunny Day by the band Froggy and the Friendship. You can check them out at froggyandthefriendship.bandcamp.com. If you have an album you want to suggest for us to review or just want to leave us some feedback or a comment or a very mean comment on our YouTube page, email us at jukeboxzeroespodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/jukeboxzeroespodcast or on Twitter at twitter.com/jukeboxzeroes. You can find us, rate us, review us, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon Music, or check out our archives on the Zero Science main page. Jukebox Zeroes is a production of the Zero Science Network. For more great podcasts, go to zero-science.com. And that about does it for Jukebox Zeroes. I'm Lilz.
And I'm Patrick.
And remember... Oh, Fieldy just walked in. Hi, Fieldy.
Yeah.
Oh, there he goes.
So your first album was a hit. It sold well, it reviewed well, you hit it out of the park on your very first try. Do it again. If only it were that easy. Join me, Austin Scholl, on Sophomore Slumps, where we take a look at music's most disappointing follow-ups. From Second Coming to October to Fairweather Johnson, we'll give a second chance to the albums from artists who fumbled theirs. Listen in on the Zero Science Network and wherever podcasts may be found.